Now, I'm going to tell you a story that happened over COVID. So during COVID, my wife gets pregnant. All right, that's got nothing to do with acting. Regular way. Came in my hand and chucked it at her. Anyway, so my wife gets pregnant, right? So we're quarantining together. My wife's pregnant. We're just living in the house, living our lives, right? And I get a phone call from Rob Schneider. Now, this is at the height of COVID. This is back with the original, the OG COVID. You know, the one that would kill you? Hey? The one where you're on a ventilator and there was doctors standing around you like this? That COVID, remember that? That COVID would kill you, and then Delta came along, and Delta could fuck you up, but I think it's safe to say if you died from Omicron, you're a pussy. Anyway. So my wife's pregnant. We're trying to, keep her safe from the COVID. We're in the house. I get a phone call from Rob Schneider. Now, you all know who Rob Schneider is. Rob Schneider's Deuce Bigalow, the hot chick. He's been in all the Adam Sandler movies. You can do it. Someone wants to yell it out, right? That's, yeah. When I bring it up, it's irritating. His life must be hell. Anyway... So Rob rings me up and he's writing a movie with a very funny Australian comic called Monty Franklin, and it's set about the Emu War that happened in Western Australia. If you know about this, there was a whole lot of emus and the Australian Army was sent in and they lost the war. Anyway, so they're making a movie about that. So Rob Schneider and Monty Franklin are writing this movie about that. And they'd already cast in the movie John Cleese. Now, I have to mention that John Cleese is a personal hero of mine. That John Cleese has been making me laugh since I was about 6 years old, right until now. There's not many people who can do that. I remember John Cleese being a bit of connective tissue between me and my parents. You know, we'd be watching the TV, watching The Life of Brian, and we'd be laughing at the same things. And there wasn't many things that did that. I love John Cleese. And Rob Schneider also loves John Cleese, and he had cast John in this movie. And John had read the script, and he had decided that he wanted to rewrite the script, right? Now, John Cleese is an Oscar-nominated writer. If he asked to rewrite your script, you fucking let him. So... John Cleese and Rob Schneider and Monty Franklin all decide to get an Airbnb in Phoenix, Arizona, right? Rob believes in more freedoms. They didn't have a mask mandate there. It's a whole thing. Anyway, so they move out to Phoenix, Arizona, and they're in an Airbnb, and that's who are quarantining during COVID. They ring me up and say, hey, do you want to help out with the script? Come and write with us for a bit. And I'm like, I don't want to go out to Phoenix. And then Rob goes, John Cleese is here. And I'm like, I want to fucking live with John Cleese. Of course I want to live with John Cleese. But here's the problem. My wife's pregnant. She's scared. If she gets COVID, what happens to the baby? She's all worried. If I leave, she'll be all by herself. So I had to be very tactful about this. So I walked up to my wife and I said, honey, I got to go. And then I drove off to Phoenix. Right? I drove off 6 hours out to Phoenix. I get out there and we all lived together in this house, and every day was the same. We'd wake up in the morning and have a great big full English breakfast. John loves food, man, this full English breakfast, right? We'd eat that. Then we'd write for a few hours. Then we'd have a swim in the pool. Me, Basil Fawlty and Deuce Bigalow. Sitting around splashing each other. Then we would have lunch. Then John, who was 82 at the time, would have what he calls a nap, right? Then we'd see John again at 6 p.m, right? Then at 6 p.m, we'd have dinner, and he would tell us these wonderful stories about Eric Idle and Michael Palin and all wonderful stories. Then we would finish the evening by doing a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle of a Hungarian castle that John thinks he may have performed in once. Now, this went on for a while. A few days later, sadly, Rob Schneider's mother passes away, so Rob has to go off to San Francisco for his mother's funeral. So now me and John are just kicking around the house, eating big breakfasts, swimming in pools, doing jigsaw puzzles of Hungarian castles. Cut to about a week later, my wife says, "Can you come home?" And I'm like, okay. So I go up in the morning, I go by myself, I go get a COVID test because I go home, and then I go and buy a bottle of wine to give to John as a thank you. And I walk into the house and John's standing there and I give it to him and I had a little speech prepared. And I said, "John, this is a little token of my appreciation. Thank you so much for letting me live with you for the last couple of weeks. Writing jokes with you is a dream come true and has been a real joy in my life, sir." And he looked at me and he said, "Becoming friends with you has been a great joy in my life. How about we finish that jigsaw?" Now, I had no plane to catch. I was driving home. I'm like, fuck it, yeah, let's finish this fucking jigsaw. So we're sitting there doing the jigsaw. John is now telling me how he wrote the Dead Parrot sketch. Him and Chapman wrote the sketch, where they came up with it. The whole sketch has ADR, which means they recorded the voice over the top, because if you look in the sketch, there's a fish tank with a little filter bubbling, and he's like this, "Because silence is the canvas where laughter is painted upon." And I'm like, I'm having a most pretentious comedy conversation with my hero. I remember thinking to myself, these moments don't happen all the time. Remember this. And then I get a text on my phone, and I pull my phone out, and it says, "You have COVID." And I'm sitting across from my 82-year-old unvaccinated hero. And I sat there for about 7 minutes and said and did nothing. Like, remember that moment that George Bush found out about 9/11? And he was sitting in front of those kids and that person just whispered in his ears and he was like... So eventually, after a while, I thought I have to do something. So I had a mask hanging around my neck. So I put it gingerly up over my face because I thought maybe I could still stop it. And then I just said, "John, I have COVID." Now, John's basically deaf, and if he can't see my lips move, he didn't know what the fuck I was saying. And he leaned in and he went, "What?" And I said, "I'm so sorry, John. I don't know how this happened. I've been with you the whole time. I don't know where I could have gotten COVID." And he stood up and he came towards me and he was like this, "What? What?" And I was like, "No, John, no. Save yourself." But he kept coming. "What? What?" So I just collected all my shit and I just ran out of the house and I got to the door and I'm not religious, but I said, "Godspeed, John." And then I got in my car and I rang my wife up and I was sitting there panicking. And I rang her up and I said, my wife's name's Tazy. I didn't name her. Anyway, so I'm sitting there and I ring up Tazy and I went, "Tazy." I said, "I have COVID." And my wife went, "Oh my God, the baby." The baby. And I said, "Fuck the baby. I've just killed John Cleese." And my wife, who is British and married to a comedian, said, "Who is John Cleese again?" I never would have married her. Oh, my father is in the audience over there. My dad, there he is. With my Uncle Brian. They're from Sydney, right? So they're down for the trip, right? And they go, oh, what's that bar, Jackson and whatever? And it has the picture of the Chloe upstairs. So there's a nude painting in the top of the bar, and these two bastards, that's all they want to see. They want to go see the thing. But they were here about 6 weeks earlier for the Grand Prix tryouts. And so they go, oh, you got to see this painting. So they took me yesterday to go see the Chloe. And I walk in, and the bartender, she goes, oh, my God, as we walk in. And I was like this, yes, hello, 1% Club, pleasure to meet you. And they went, you're the two old brothers who were here 6 weeks ago. So they're at an age where they're uncancelable, these two. They can do whatever they want. So they went down to Tasmania to drive around, and they went to, there's a museum there, what's it called again? The Mona, right? So they go to the Mona. Now, my Uncle Brian, he's a big art buff, and he knows everything about art. He goes to galleries of that. My father, he's not as much in the art world. He went to the Mona Art Gallery, and he goes, you should have bloody seen it. There was one display there that was just a wall of vaginas. All different types of vaginas, all different shapes. Some of them were everything falling out of them, some of them all tucked in. They were all there to see. And I was trying to find one that looked like your mother's. Now, mind you, my mother died 4 years ago, so this is very sentimental to me. He goes, I was trying to find one that looked like your mother's, and I would have found one, but Brian kept on fucking hurrying me up the whole time. Anyway, there was this girl, she was about 20 or something, and she was just staring at this one vagina. She was staring at it for the longest time, and so I went up with her, and I had a bit of a laugh, and I walked up, and I went, does that one look like yours? Now, my dad's seen me, this is the second time. I went and performed at his bowling club in Turramurra, and I told that story, and he got angry at me. It's literally the second time I've ever told this story, right? So I have to do it again in front of my dad, because if you can't do a joke in front of someone, you should never tell the joke at all, right? Now, my dad comes up to me after I told that joke the first time. He goes, oh, bloody, you pick on me, you do. You fucking pick on me. He goes, that's not what happened at all. I didn't just walk up to her and go, does that one look like yours? I walked up to her and I went, that's a lovely looking one, isn't it? Right? I built a rapport with the young lady.
I didn't say that either. I said, it looks very neat.
Oh, man. I'm sorry, Dad. Next time when I tell that story, I'll make sure I get it right, mate.